Good evening, this is Nick Inman from VolumeProfileTrader.com on Wednesday, December 14th, and just jumping right into the S&P futures contract. Today we got some follow through to the downside, breaking the 50-day moving average for everyone who likes to watch that. And, you know, the market, generally speaking, has been weak the last few days. There's a lot of, speculation about the euro and, basically how it continues to drive the market. And what we're looking at is which way the market wants to go. And as long as the euro's in charge, which I'll bring that up right now, well, you can see what's going on here. It continues to make new lows, and it's just something that no one wants to be a buyer of. So if we go back to the S&P, you can see that, the S&P is definitely performing better, but, weak nonetheless in the middle of the Donchian channel here. So potentially this thing could come back down to 1150, call it, and nothing's, what's the only thing that would be wrong is that, we're breaking down from the 200 from this balance range, that the market's been trying to hold on to. And, we're breaking below those levels. We're at the 1200 level, held that level, today relative to, really piercing through it. But if I zoom in on the S&P to an hourly chart and really see what's going on, you can see that, we really have a big high volume area from, now I'm going to get the levels, from 1215 on the upside to 1184 on the downside. You can see the significant volume here, and we're just in the middle of that range. So, technically we're not broke. This isn't broken yet. We're just in basically a big congestion zone. We want to see this thing, at least from a buyer standpoint, poke its head back up with some nice buying in the market. And right now we're not getting that, and that's fine. We're just waiting for the opportunity. And so let's just really get into names that are working and look like they will continue to work, later on. Okay, GE. This is a company who's raised its dividend, and the stock continues to work. However, the December point of control, which I will bring up, for example, in the S&P really quick. The S&P sold off from the top, the point of control is in the top of the range. It's sold off since. So is GE a laggard? And it will an outperformer, but, the market's going to bring it down also because, the point of control is at the top of the range. We didn't finish relatively strong, though up 1% on the day. We're in a balance range right now for GE, and this is a name that you want to keep on your radar because, as long as it holds this 1630 level or so, this name should be okay. But, realize that we are at the top of the range on this name. Okay, Ford. This is a name like a lot of other names in a current downtrend, though look where the support is, right at this $10 level. And you can see last time Ford was at $10. Was it right to be a buyer or a seller of of Ford? And the answer is, buyer. You could have waited a week, but you can see that we're at potential support here. So give this thing some time, but if you see, any type of strength, this should be a decent trade for a bounce. Okay, I'm bringing up gold now because I'm sure a lot of people are curious about it because, it's gotten crushed in the past few days. However, this is also a name that's, let me bring it up on the daily chart. That's, okay, it has broken down from its 200-day, we broke down from this triangle pattern, whatever, and I see it. The downtrend, it's definitely intact. There's definitely sellers that will be waiting to sell their GLD to you at higher levels. But you can see this huge volume at this 151, down to 146 level or so. We're, right at those lows today. One thing I want to bring up is an intraday chart. Okay, intraday chart of the gold futures contract, and one thing that's positive today that will lead us to a decent bounce, I assume, is, we're really, this point of control for the day formed at the bottom of the range, and that's positive. So long as price can stay above it, it should bode well for, at least support in gold and a potential move higher. And we're looking for basically a retracement of some sort of this current down move to try to test maybe 1620 and above, which would lead to a decent bounce. And gold's, cheap brother, silver, this name up 1% after hours. You can see that it's starting to give a nice little bounce back. We saw the point of control finish at the top, or not the top of the range, but top of this current congestion area, and we're looking for a bounce. And take a name like silver. It was just a couple days ago, yesterday, when silver was above 31.75, and now it touched 28.53 today. So this has been a very quick move, and there could be more to come. But like gold, and let me zoom in, you see this support level for silver, right? You see the big volume here. So looking for this thing to hold and give us some type of stabilization. I'm not saying that this thing's going to go straight back to 34. We talked about this triangle pattern, and we said whichever way it goes, that's the side you want to be on, and it was right to be a seller. So the trade was there, and it was just up to you to pull the trigger. Okay, quick, just going to cover TLT. This is a name that, well, the bonds, it continues to work, and this thing looks like it's going to power higher and just break out to the upside. You can see it's, the bottom of the channel was creeping up, and buyers were there 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 out of 8 days, or even 9 days. Price was in this range at the bottom of the channel. 6 of them were up days, and that just shows you, and there's really only one decent down day, and that just shows you, the fact that people want to be in safety. And take, for example, the dollar. The dollar continues to push higher, though I think we're at a resistance point in the dollar. You can see how this high volume really starts to taper off from above, but if we get above that level, then it's up to 83.50 or so. So I expect some type of stabilization, some type of sell-off in the dollar, but there are a lot of mixed signals right now, and stick with the trend. The trend is to be holding dollars, which you should be doing. I want to do 2 more charts, actually 3, and one's the intraday of the S&P, which I forgot to show earlier. Point of control formed at the bottom of the range. We're stabilizing after markets. We want to see this thing push above 1210, get back up to 1214. That will show you that the buyers are coming back, and they're interested on holding this 1200 level. But keep in mind that this thing could reverse, and it could go test 1190, 1180. So if you're short this market, you're in the right camp. But be aware of how this profile setup finished tonight. Okay, NASDAQ, it's back at the value area low for the year. Though there's a few things that we need to dissect here. One, we're at value area support, and if we go through the last times, it was right to buy this at value area support. We have 1, 2, a mess, but ultimately yes, 3, and 4. So here we are again at value area support, and I could even make the argument for some type of inverse head and shoulders pattern that's, could be in the making here. We just need some kind of test up to the top of the value area and then a breakout, right? Well, we need to look a little closer and kind of connect these. we have a lower high, and we have a higher low. If I zoom out even more, no. So we have a higher high and a higher low, just like the S&P, at value area support. 200-day moving average rolling over. 50-day moving average will be rolling over, sooner rather than later. So is this the time you want to be selling? No, unless if you're really looking long term and expecting this thing to break down. What I would be looking for rather is a short-term bounce, maybe a couple days of consolidation around these levels, and some type of stabilization and a retest of, call it 2,300 on the NASDAQ. And just because everyone likes it, Apple, this is failing from the balance range we saw yesterday. Yesterday gave us really our hint that this thing was breaking down, and sure enough we got follow through today. We should be looking at Apple with the realization that it can come down really another $10 or so, and nothing's really wrong with this. The 200 days still moving higher. 50 days is going to start moving lower eventually. So, make no doubt about it. Apple's range bound just like the rest of the market, and we're in the middle of the channel. So, unfortunately, there's not a lot to do, but look at the names that are doing relatively well, and don't be afraid to get involved in those names. And, nibble, as, I would like to say. Just buy a little bit, be involved. Therefore, if the market does turn around, it's a lot easier to be a buyer rather than, not knowing if this is a bounce or I should say a bigger move. So, one other name, really quick, Freeport. It only was down 34 cents today, not even 1%, but it's at this this high volume area, point of control support. Like so many other names, we have a higher low, we have a lower high. We're looking for some type of direction. Until this market goes one way or the other, it's just a sit on your hands and wait. You can look at the S&P, you can see that the point of control is underpriced. You can make your bullish argument, like I continue to make, but there's always the chance that this thing can keep going. And if it does, you don't want to be holding a bag of, a ripped paper bag, call it. And you want to be opportunistic and realize that markets go up, markets go down, especially how volatile it is now. So I think we're at a potential bounce area in the market. I think there are some names that you can make some money on a bounce, but I think you should look to take profits on those bounces quick. And, don't overstay your welcome. The first sign of trouble, you ditch the position. And other than that, you should be doing a fairly decent job trading. And I hope this helps. If you want some more instruction, feel free to come to the trading room. And you can find the link on the website. And just try to better yourselves, because like how horrible it is to trade in this market right now for some, you're thinking, why can't the market trend higher? And you obviously understand the risk, but even so, right now it's not like we're getting like a fluid move how we did in October. We're up for 3 days where two of the moves were overnight, and then you're down on a slow grind the next week. So I understand the frustration. We were trading today a few frustrating positions, but you keep those losses small, and when the winners are there, which they should be, you tackle them, you add to them, and basically you understand why those were winners. So I hope this helps. I hope to see you tomorrow in the trading room, and have a good